ashes melted back to life. Done my time and served my sentence. Dress me up and watch me die. If it feels good, tastes good, it must be mine. Dynasty decapitated, you just might see a ghost tonight. And if you don't know now, you know. I'm taking back the crown. I'm all dressed up and naked. I see what's mine and take it. Oh yeah, the crown.
Oh yeah, it's time to get pumped up and get ready. Hell of a show is on the market. Number 98 coming at you hot. We're gonna have some fun tonight. All right, so we got a few people already in here showing up. Well, we got more showing up as we're talking. Excellent. So let me know if you can see and hear me in here. I'd certainly appreciate that, and we will get going here very shortly. Make sure we get some shares out there as well. We're gonna have some fun with this one tonight, and it's gonna be a little bit different than the regular show. So again, let me know if you can see and hear me, and we will start moving from there. And by all means, be interactive tonight. Let's have some fun and get into what we're going to be discussing. The topic for tonight: readers versus collectors. So this is going to get very interesting here. And let's see what we got. Atrocity Press is here. I like how you can see through the shirt into the background. That's the magic that we're showing tonight. Am I here? Am I not? That's what we're going for. What's up, other Phil? I'm sorry, I had to do it. You know I couldn't go without saying it. Thanks for being here, Phil. And there we go. I see and hear me. Yes, I see and hear me as well. Excellent. All right, so there we go. See and hear you. Here we go. Tommy, can you? And we're already getting rowdy. This is great. This is what I love about this. All right, so the show tonight is not about the Invisible Man. Pay no attention to the Invisible Man here. But it is more about readers versus collectors is what we're going into. Before we get everyone up here on the panel, I want to go ahead and reiterate the 4 rules of the show so everybody is up to speed on this. No politics, no religion, no drama, no negativity. That is being said simply because we're making this a discussion, not a troll factory, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, the old ejecto button is hot and ready to go, so I hate using it, but if I have to, I will, because it's all about giving that time to the guest and having some fun. That being said, I'm going to introduce them out here, and then we're going to get to know them. Then we're going to get this show going, and we're going to have a blast. 98 is coming in hot. Brandon is here from Mad Viking Comics.
Hey, how's it going?
Caesar on here. He is on Whatnot, but he is also our collector. And then we have got Travis Gibb, comic writer, publisher, Orange Cone Man.
Orange Cone Man.
That's a new hashtag for you right there.
Do I need like an orange? Like, do I need to wear a hat? Like, or is an orange cone, like an orange cone on my head, like at all times, like a dunce cap.
I mean, the marketing is right there. It's written on the wall almost for you. But for everyone that's that's coming in tonight and getting ready to watch this, I just want to say this is like one of those things where you have a punchline ready to go. Because what happens, let's just say you've got a store owner, you got a collector, and a publisher walk into a podcast. This is how it starts out right here. So let's get on to that punchline as we go along. And we're going to get everybody introduced. Caesar Salad, you knew that was coming.
Yeah. Thanks, Thomas. Thanks for nothing, Thomas.
Niobe Comics is here. Word.
I like the transition of our beards too as it goes around. That's
right.
Nice.
I feel so young I compared to you guys.
The Brotherhood is here. Excellent. Thank y'all for being here. While we're going through this, please share this out, get some more people involved. But we're going to go ahead and go round robin. We're going to start with the Beard of Beards here with Brandon. Go ahead and let us know who you are, what you do, and where to find you.
I'm Brandon. I'm co-owner of Mad Viking Comics. My brother and I both own it. We're out of Lincoln, Nebraska, located 942 North 70th Street in Lincoln. We just opened our doors in May, and we're learning. We're just starting out. We're on Facebook, Instagram, a little bit on Twitter, and pretty much we got a YouTube channel, all that good stuff. But we're just learning. We're mainly on Facebook.
Excellent. And now we're going to go to Caesar. I'm not going to say Caesar salad. That's them over there. I'm going to be nice about it tonight. So Caesar, you've got the mic on this one.
Hey guys, Caesar. I'm one of the hosts on Comic Fanzine podcast. That's where you can find me. You can also find me on Facebook in every 500 groups that I'm in, one of comic groups. I'm also Dracula's Wolf or whatnot, which I'm not a seller, but I just do go in there at people's shows and kind of get the chat going and kind of hype people up. They deserve it. I'm just a collector. As you guys will find out later, I don't read comics. So sorry, Travis. I know I know it was actually directed towards you. Actually, I hate to say it, but I don't read the comics. See, I'm already known because of my other podcast. I don't read comics, so I'm just a collector. We'll get into that.
Yep. See, it's already here too. Caesar the non-reader. Yep, we've got it. So let's make sure. Is Travis breathing over there? Because he was clutching his chest a little bit. So.
I have a lot of questions and comments about it, but I feel that that's not the time and place that we're at this time. So I am Travis Gibb. I'm a comic publisher. I have mostly on Kickstarter. I've got Broke Down in 4 Dead Bodies, Voodoo Nations. I'm most known for the Cthulhu Invade series, Oz and Wonderland. People love that. Sold a lot of those. Granite State Punk, which is live now on Kickstarter. And then as of 2023, I'm doing a lot of publishing for other people. So I've got Granite State Punk is with Scout Comics and Black Caravan. I've got a brand new book that's never been on Kickstarter called Coins of Judas. That's with a new company called Bands of Bards. That'll be coming out in January, February. And then we're actually probably looking to expand that into further than that. So, but a lot of stuff in the direct market next year. And those are the only ones I can announce. So,
wow. I mean, I hate to, hear that you're that bored and just don't have anything to do. I mean,
right.
Get in that way. I mean, at least you have something to write that Caesar can read. No, never mind. He won't do it. I'm sorry.
I'm surprised I'm reading your Travis Gibb comic writer, Travis. I'm pushing it. I mean, I read Brandon. I was like, my brain's starting to hurt. So
we know you just like the pretty colors.
Exactly. There's some pretty colors. That's for
Travis,
sure.
if you do pop-up books, I might be in.
No, don't give him that much power.
You don't want those kind of pop-up books.
Oh, we've already gone downhill. I love this show. So we're talking about readers versus collectors. And again, this is in the informative way of kind of learning about this. And we want to kind of figure out what's the difference? What is the pull? What's the, the yin and yang on this? I mean, where do you see some good effects and some not so good effects on there, and what can be, fixed upon? So I'm going to start out with, we're going to go with the shop owner on this one. We're going to start with Brandon on this. Let me ask you, as far as readers versus collectors, do you see whenever people come into your store, can you kind of tell which is which before they actually open their mouth? Is there some way that you can see that that's happening?
No, honestly, no, I can't. And I mean, and most of our sales have been online, and it's mostly collectors, because they want the incentive covers and stuff like that. But in store, no, it's hit and miss. I mean, you just can't tell until they start asking questions.
And that's good to get that interaction going so that you know who they are and what they're looking for and kind of build off of that. So going off of that right there, I'm going to go to Travis with this one. Do you see that with the stuff that you're writing, do you see a trend sometimes where they're like, get past the story. I don't want to hear about that. Show me more of that art. Let's see what's happening on the cover with this.
I mean, yeah, obviously that's where work. Covers sell books. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but every comic store would argue that's super important. You can get past that with certain creators. I mean, like not something killing children. Department of Truth. That book's hard to adjust to, but it's so written so well, right? It's such a unique style. I'm not even saying it's bad art. I think it's great art, but it's a unique style. It's not what you see, and you have to adjust to that. So I think that's the case. You've got to kind of cater to both audiences. But at the end of the day, they both complement each other, right? The artist is going to carry the story, but if you don't have something there, something substantial, they're going to move on to the next thing. It's not going to matter, how good the art is,
And that is definitely true with that. And you can definitely see, like you said, don't judge a book by its cover, but this kind of plays away from that. Definitely, unless you have your, look behind the curtain and see what's going on. Like with me, before I did, of course, I would walk into any, comic book store and I'm like, ooh, pretty cover. I want that one, that one, that one. Put this in my pile. Now I walk in there and I open it up and I'm like, the panels look okay. The dialogue's okay. Oh, they look messed up in the lettering. So I'm not real sure about this one. I put this over to the side. It's all about going through that whole experience on there. So I got to ask you, Caesar, whenever you're looking at, readers versus collectors on there, is there something that you have read that you've enjoyed in the past, or has it strictly been collecting the entire time?
It's strictly collecting. Back in the 80s, I started collecting when I got one of those things where you, as a kid, you would subscribe for a year, right? And you get the comic once a month or whatever it is, right? And I filled it out myself and asked my dad for the $12 or the whatever it was, and maybe even less. And I got the first one, and I said, "What the hell is what is this?" I wanted to get JLA, but I got accidentally. I checked the box for that other crap. What is it? The one with the kids or the space or what?
The Legion of Superheroes.
Oh,
Yes. Legions, right?
Yep.
And I was like devastated. But I bought them with the intention to actually read them. I was so devastated. I never read one of them through my whole time. So I never once have ever read a book from beginning to end. And it's not because I don't want to. I just don't want to. But then again, it also goes back to I don't know, man. It just doesn't do it. So for me, for collecting, I like collecting pieces of history. I like collecting a book from the 1960s that God knows where it went when it was first bought, right? And I even like them even more graded, because to get a certain grade of a book from the 1962 or 1972, we all know how these books were in 1950s and 40s and 60s. They were rolled up in someone's back pocket and rode on the bike and got into school and threw it in the bed and traded with their friends and all that. So to get a book from the early 60s and 50s in a very good condition, that's pretty remarkable. That's someone who read it carefully and didn't, abuse the book. And I like that piece, that my room turns into sort of a museum when you walk in. And even for non-comic book people, it's kind of like, wow, is that a real Iron Man #1? Or I'm like, yeah, it is. So there's that piece, but I do wish I would read, but I just don't read. It is what it is.
No, and that's again, everybody has their opinion. Everybody's entitled to it. So that's what this show is about: is showing and discussing what that is and what happens with that. I think the moral of the story is make sure whatever boxes you're checking out there going forward, you always check the right box. That way you know exactly which way to go.
Yeah, who knows what I would have gotten from the actual in the 80s. I probably would have gotten a few keys now, but hey, listen, Legion, sorry guys. They
As a reader, I could tell you Legion sucks. You're welcome.
Oh,
yeah, I'm not a Legion guy. Not a
That's
Legion
being
guy.
nice.
I was waiting for some kind of come on, Brandon. You're supposed to go like, don't worry about it, Caesar, you're fine.
And Thomas says that's what trade paperbacks are all about. That and digitals. I will be honest, I get a lot of books that I order that will automatically go into my collection, be put away so that they're nice and kept. And then there's of course my other short boxes that I keep that I'm supposed to be sending to CBCS or CGC or wherever I'm sending those. But I still want to read them, so I'll get the digitals so I can at least know what's going on in there, so that I'll know if I want to go ahead and keep going with that story. And that's kind of my next thing that I want to bring up is, when you've got something that's going along with there, how do you know you want to go to something else? I'm going to ask Brandon on this one. If you started off with the series that you're reading, what is that key element that makes you go, oh, I got to have this next one. I got to see what issue 2, 3, and 4 and whatever it goes to, wherever they're going with this.
That's got to be, honestly, it's a story. I mean, if they're going to keep getting it, I mean, like I didn't get reading Something's Killed the Children. I read the trade of that.
Yep.
And it's like, holy crap, I got to go find the rest of these.
Yes.
And the Department of Truth. I read the first issue. I got the trade paperback with me this week on the road. I'm gonna try and knock it out. But yeah, the artwork is hard to get through. But it seemed well written. The first one did, so I waited for the trade, and I'm gonna try it now. Check it out, the rest of it. But yeah, it's the story. If you're gonna get somebody to keep coming back, I think it's the story.
And that does make sense. And I'm going to go ahead and give props to Travis on here right now, because I've actually discussed this once before. I've actually done a review as well on Broke Down and 4 Dead Bodies. That is one of those things that you read the first one and you're like, I need more. It's like, give me my fix. I got to have this. What's going on? What's happening here? He knows how to leave you hanging, but not leave you hanging in a bad way that you're like, oh, screw this. I'm never going to pick this up again. It's to the point where you're like, okay, when are you doing more of this? Tell me you got more of this in line to do this. And for me, that's the hook. That's the reel in right there, is how it's left at the end. It's not, I mean, everything else has got to be kind of fluid through it to one point. But whenever you get to that last page, when it's a page turner and you get to that, if it leaves me hanging in a way that I'm like, I've got to see what's going on, then you've done your job, and it's actually success at that point, is the way I feel anyway. So let me ask you, Travis, moving on, what makes it something that you would actually collect? What brings it to your mind that you're like, okay, beyond reading, I've got to have that thing slabbed, sealed, never touched, barely sees the light of day, but I got to know that I have it and it's collected?
So I would probably offend Caesar because I have been collecting since I was 13 years old, and I have long box after long boxes. Most of them are not bagged and bordered. I have more keys than the average person because I have most of my life bought an abundance of comics every week. I spend a lot of money on comics. I've had a lot of discount, but I'm a reader. I don't worry about that stuff. I read that stuff. In fact, just recently I found two appearances of Spider-Gwen. I boycotted Spider-Gwen right off the bat because Gwen Stacy for me is someone you don't touch, right? So I avoided it like the plague, but I must have heard the buzz and was like, all right, fine, I'll buy it. I found two. And I was like, wow, I could flip these. And then I literally just threw it in a box and was like, nope, not worried about it. Because that's the case. Because I just love comics. I love embracing them. And for me, I've always followed writers. I've never been, Image got me a little bit. I followed Liefeld through the Extreme and Awesome and all that. But for me, it's always been writers. Ever since Brian Michael Bendis came on the bend, I was a huge Nightwing fan and Chuck Dixon's Batman, going through all that stuff. So I've always followed writers. So if you're a good writer, I'm going to follow you to the end of the earth, and I'll buy pretty much everything you get and all that stuff. And I've even ran a store like Mad Vikings. I ran a store for a long time, and one of the biggest mistakes of my life was deciding not to order Walking Dead because I was like, no, this is a black and white zombie book. There's tons of zombie books in the market. I'm not going to buy a stupid black and white comic book that no one's going to read about zombies. F that. I don't care if your name's on it, Kirkman. And I was extremely wrong.
I remember picking it up, opening it.
Right. Who wants to buy a book about a guy in an iron suit? Iron Man?
And that does make sense on there, and what you're dealing with and all. And I want to bring up a comment that's over here real quick, because it's kind of leading in directly, and you touched on it very briefly. Yeah. You didn't touch Niobe. Don't get me wrong on that one. That's something totally different conversation.
Right.
But there's a difference between long-term collectors and flippers. I'm telling Larry, get out. You want to get out of here, man. This is dangerous territory to be up inside here, man. Don't get there. We're right there on that one. But that is true, because you have a lot of collectors, and I use air quotes on this one, because they will collect everything that's out there and then flip the hell out of it for stupid amounts of money. And sometimes it's not even worth, the money that's up there by any means.
Right.
And it loses its value personally to someone at that point. It's no longer something like, even if they wanted it in the worst kind of way, to spend extra hundreds of dollars, to get something just because a flipper has it, takes away from that value. This one's going to you, Caesar. I can see you jumping around down there. So tell me, what's the difference between collecting and flipping for you?
I have an attachment to these books, and I wish I didn't. And that would make me a flipper. I would be, if I didn't have attachment, I would flip that Fantastic 448 like that, 49 like that. And I just want, and then I'll flip it, and I'll buy my wife, a brand new whatever, because I just don't care. I'll just buy something else even more, or I really want an AF-15 or a TOS 39, so I'll sell all these. No, I have too much. Even though I never read the stories, but I know the stories. Listen, I do read some stuff. People don't get wacky on me, but I know enough to know what's good and what's good to hold on to. Like I said, it's a piece of history. Flippers out there, and there's a lot of people on here who are flippers. They don't care, man. They'll flip a $1 book for $5 and sell it for $5 and make those $4. They don't give a shit. Really don't. And not me, man. I can't. I just can't. I would, the minute I sell one of these books, the minute I drop it off in the mail, I would feel horrible and right away have resentment and regret for doing that, because I would never find that book again for the price I paid for it. Because people will tell you, what's the big deal? You could always get that book later. Not at the price I paid for it. So no. So guess what? I'm not going to go for it. As simple as that. Now I'm out of a book. So it's for a collector, a lot of PC, and there's a lot of collectors out there who over collect, and they have their wife is kicking them out of the house because you can't walk around because there's so many boxes and all those, and they don't want to let go of anything, right? 37 copies of this, 50 copies of the same book. They just will not let go. All right. Once again, the rule of collecting, right? Collect what you love. There's no rule in collecting. There's no rule in collecting. So.
And Thomas says some of these books you can always buy more than one. And that is very true. I mean, I even have in my personal collection, I have several copies of some of them, but just because I like the covers, different covers that are there, but I still read at least one of the books, and then the other ones, go off to the side to go ahead and be slabbed or whatever on that. So that does make sense in that end as well. And then Brotherhood says, I'm an over collector. Everything goes to PC.
Yeah. See, Alex is one of those guys that he sells, and he sells a lot, but he collects a lot. There's that balance of I could flip, but I have that PC for me, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like he'll find that book, and he'll probably be in the balance of, do I want to sell this? Because now I have that book I've always been wanting to sell. And then if you're Brandon, who's like, I want to really keep this, but shit, I got a business. So I got to bring in money for my business.
I just sold a piece of my personal collection today. I got a phone call, and they knew I had it, and they were in the store, and I didn't want to let it go, but I just got it in my head. I got to keep the store going. I can get it later once it, I can find it again.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
And that brings up, we've got a question in the audience by Specs. When is it time to sell a book? And I'm going to go ahead and go back to Brandon on this one. You've already kind of touched on that. When is it time to actually start selling, some of the collection pieces and things that are there? I know you being a store, you're kind of like, if the money's there and it's green enough, I'm taking it. But is there something else personal wise that you kind of look at going, I kind of want to, but I really don't? Or are there some that you really are going to hang on to, take into your deathbed?
It's a double-edged sword. I mean, if you hold on to it too long, the value drops. No. And because I've gutted my Spawn. I've always collected Spawn. I was big into it. I still love it. And but I had some hard to find books, and to get the store going, I've gutted my Spawn collection. Mm-hmm. And I had 2 newsstand #1 signed by McFarlane 9/8, and God, I wish I would have held on to those. Because they went for probably about a third what I could get for them now. Mm-hmm. And but you just don't know. I mean, we opened our doors in May, and most of the market dropped. So I mean, it's hit and miss. It's if you got something that's hot, then unless you got a personal attachment to it, make a profit off of it. The one thing I do try to do, if it's a personal piece of my collection, I won't sell it for any less than what I have into it. Mm-hmm. I'd rather keep it.
Yep. Thomas says, I think you want to invest in the books that you know hold value.
Yeah.
That is true, yes. And but then again, you got to think of it like a stock market, because you're going to see some of them that are absolutely plummet. And I've seen too many of the, again, quote unquote collectors that are out there like, oh, I got to sell this thing quick because it's losing value. But does it have personal value enough to go ahead and hang on to? That's the difference between collecting and flipping at that point, as far as I'm seeing.
You know how many stories I've seen of this book I got graded and it's worth nothing, but it's the first book I bought when I was a kid. So it holds that personal, it could be worth $3 and they spent $90 to get it slabbed, and they're happy as shit because this is the book my dad first bought me or introduced me. This is the book my mom bought me when I was 8 and I lost it. Now I have money, obviously, now to get it again. That's a personal thing. That's whatever makes you happy. And Travis writing his books, it makes him happy. It's his happy spot. And even if Travis, I'm pretty sure if 4 people read your book, you'd be like, I don't care. I feel good about it. I love what I wrote, and I'm happy.
Yeah, my whole goal when I wrote comic books, like what was going to make me happy, because you always have that definition, was someone buying it who didn't know me. That's it. Like someone who wasn't buying it because I know Travis Gibb. They bought it for the cover. They bought it for the title. They bought it because they were interested in the actual book, not because Travis sold it, but because, oh, that looks interesting. I'm going to pick that up,
Right.
So, yeah, but I wanted to go over. So one of the things when you're talking about flipping and investing, I think this is when readers are really the keys, and people who've been reading for a long time. Because much like Caesar, though I have a collection that I don't touch, I occasionally will dip to sell. Very, very rare. Like Sin City, I sold my Sin Cities because I knew that was going to be a quick sell and I was going to be able to buy that back. And you can buy pretty much the whole run of Sin City right now for nothing, and I sold it for a ton. Wanted, same thing, sold it for a bunch, stuff. But
I wish I would have sold it.
Like Spawn I know is going to hold the value. Venom, when everyone was flipping Carnage, in the Carnage thing, I was like, I know to hold on to this. It's not seen its peak. It's really finding that. And sometimes you make a mistake. I know people who are readers, but for the most time, a real reader can tell you, you just need to keep again, going back to Spider-Gwen, hate the character, hate everything about it. That character is going places. It's on the animation stuff. It's going to keep growing and growing and growing forever. I don't think it's ever going to go away, regardless how I feel about it.
Well, plus it's completely tethered to the MCU and the digital, Spider-Verse thing that they've got on there. So it's not going anywhere except for wherever that's going. And right now, that has got such a huge fan following that it's going to keep going for quite some time.
It's tough. It's tough to the whole. And where do you even get into speculations?
Right.
The speculators is the whole. Speculators are. I almost put them together as flippers. The speculators are the ones who are like, I heard, right, that so-and-so is going to be, and so I'm going to pick up all the comics that person's in, and then I'm going to sell it and then flip it, right? So speculators and flippers, and there's people who hate the speculators because they're the ones who are ruining the community, right? The same ones who do flippers who don't care, but flipping's been around for years.
Yeah.
It's been around for years, and trading. It's been, I'll trade you my Spider-Man for your Thor. I like Thor better. It's been going on for years, but now it's a different age. With all the social medias we have, it's so much easier to do what we do. Travis is living in a time now that it's a good time to be a writer, man, because you have social media and you can publish your own stuff and put it out there and put websites and do all things. Back in the old days, you had to ship it around, and you had to schlep your papers, and you had to go to the places and say, read my things, right? And
I started in 2003, so I did a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's
tough, right?
Yeah, it was rough. It was a different world. You had to pay and print and just go to cons and meet people and hope it worked out, And speculators, we always talk about the bad part of speculators, but when you're talking about the indie scene, speculators can make an indie author. They can make them look at Mad Cave. Mad Cave wasn't even on the map. Someone speculated that Nottingham's going to get a movie deal. It's going to be, and it did. Recount Jonathan Hendricks. That's going to get a movie deal. Blew up, made tons of covers, done stuff. So speculators, though really bad in Marvel and DC, can make an indie person's career too.
Great.
So it's crazy. Like I have a dislike for them too, because they make it hard at my comic store where I just need issue 5 of this. I've been getting it all. I've been buying it off the shelf. I didn't add it in my collection, and you bought it because random appearance. That isn't going to matter because I am a reader. I know it's not going to matter, but someone told you on the internet that it is.
I own a shop, and I own a shop, and I just paid $20 for 8 Bill and Genie's #2 because I didn't order any.
Sure. Yeah.
I read the first one. I'm like, oh, it's not a bad story. And so I was like, I gotta get the second one.
And I was going to ask you that, Brandon, is that I would assume that the readers who really do want to fill their run and they really do love the story and they're missing #8 just to read it, and that just happened to be a spec book, and now that poor son of a bitch can't buy it at a regular price that was a dollar bin a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And now everyone's going and scouring and doing the hunt and buying them all up. And the guy's like, man, I don't even want to flip. I just want it for my fill, and I just want to read it. That's all I want to do, right? And I don't want to spend $35 now for a book that I could have paid $2 for last week. You know, it sucks. That's why I don't read, people.
Yeah. Well, and every company is going to tell you that you need to order this. Like my job is to tell you, hey, Brandon, I have a comic coming out in January and February. I'm going to be it. I'm doing like, that's my job, is to tell you to order my book.
Right.
And I'm not lying. I believe it myself, but I don't know how it's going to do in Kentucky, right? Like,
there you
if
go.
I'm being honest, I have no idea.
Pull list, right? That's what people do, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I just saw that too. Put that up there with the pull, and that exactly. I mean, that's the pull list is what that's for. So you can kind of keep that going. And if you create enough of a rapport with your store owner, they'll work with you, because I've had them work with me in the past where they'll straight up tell me if it comes out of your pull list, it goes up to that price. As long as it's in there and you take care of it this week, you can have it for last week's price. So they'll at least work with you as long as you're consistent and you're paying. I cannot stress this enough. Pay for your pull list.
Right. So you're saying, Brandon, you have pull lists, right, Brandon?
Yeah, we only got a couple people, but yeah, we do.
Now, see, that's a good point. So if a book came out on your pull list and the story comes out next week or 2 days, that book in your pull list is going to be in the new blah, 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 and now that price has gone up, that LCS, it's up to him to say, you better come pick up this book by the end of the week, or you're going to be charged the $80 is going to just start to go for it instead of full price, right?
Exactly. I mean, and that's what
I wouldn't do that, but yeah, I mean, I've heard of shops where they'll tell, there's like, it didn't come in this week, and then they magically the next week have copies of it on the shelf.
That's sweet.
I would, I'd try to give people the benefit of the doubt, give them about a month, maybe even 2, but they don't got a ton of books, or if they're, they do become a regular. Yeah. And
Beck said it exactly. They magically show up. It's like, okay, well, I think they might like this one, $30 book in there, and it's like, no.
You know, the funny thing is, Travis, is that I like to write. I consider myself sort of a novelist writer. I like to write, and the funny thing is, I don't like to read. So I like to read. I like to write. I like to read what I write.
Right.
So there's that side of me that I feel kind of bad that there's so much. You know what? Listen, the talent of writers right now and cover artists, the new up and comers, are out of this world. And that's me just knowing the synopsis of a story, right? When I do when I'm on the podcast and we have guys on, I'll say, and I really do mean it. What's Nottingham about? What's Twig about? Right. What's Canto about? And they'll give a quick synopsis, and I'm like, that sounds pretty cool. I wish I would want to read that. But the talent that's out there and the media that is allowed for them to be able to show their talent is out of this world.
Yeah.
The digital, especially now the digital artists. Trust me, I like people who do the pencils and it's old school. But the digital artistry that they do, it's crazy. And imagine if the Jack Kirby's and they added the Neils and the Perez's all had the technology back then when they were in their prime, what they could have done.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of cool to think about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We got a question over here that we had just a little while ago that I want to actually direct toward Travis for this one. Specs is asking, can't you just sell the floppy and keep the graphic novel? My question is, how much of a difference do you see in those books? I mean, because sometimes graphic novels might have a little extra content in them than, your floppies do, or the floppy might actually be, the first printing on there, and then they went and remastered it or whatever in the trade paperback. So what are your thoughts on that?
A lot of people do that. A lot of people sell their issue, they'll sell their stuff early on to get the trade, to get more room and stuff like that. But for me, I'm like Caesar. I have attachment to these books. They matter to me. The only way you can get me to sell them is, my kids. Like, that's it. Like, the kids is the only thing that will make me sell my books. Even my wife. I just told her a couple of years ago. I was like, hey, we were thinking about buying a house. I was like, all right, cool. If we need a house, I'm willing to sell my comic books. She was like, what? I was like, yeah, that's the only thing. Family's the only thing worth selling. Other than that, they just stay there because that's what they're for. And yes, you do get bonus content a lot with the trades and all that, but there's something special about those first runs. Yes. That's when, if you're a collector, you may get a misprint or you may get some special stuff. Like last week, Azar came out from Scout Comics, and half of the book is missing the text. So about 10 years from now, if that picks up, Pat Shan's a great writer. Odds are that may have more value. You're just going to have to wait and hold on to it and figure out all those things. All those things have value. The point is, what do you want to do? If you just want to read, then go ahead and buy the trades. There's no problem with that. Trade waiting is a wonderful thing, and comics should be read. Like, they shouldn't just be for specs. Like, really, I want people to read comics because it's hard. Like, right now, I'm in my direct market phase, and I'm selling variant covers, and I made a deal with the publisher to get variant covers from publishers, and that's great. I want to have that out, but I also don't want to flood the market with tons of stuff, because I've seen creators who flood the market with all these variants, and eventually they're just like, I can't be behind this creator anymore because too many people who want that are not coming in to read it. They want that number one variant, 1 in 20. They're making me get 20 copies so I can get this one variant for that one guy, and then I'm stuck with 19. Like, that's not going to help me. Brandon's crying. Like, you get me. You get me.
Well, like right now, we're doing a bundle deal for Batman Spawn when it comes out. There's a 1,000 cover.
Right.
And I'm already having nightmares about having thousands of books and shoved in the corner in the back of my store because I'm not going to be able to do nothing with them.
But Brandon, I got to be honest. How does that work? So when I first thought about that, so you have to buy 1,000 of this to get that one variant, right? The 1 in 1,000, 1 in 100, 1 in 10. And then are you hoping that you sell that one variant to make enough to kind of cover the shitty ones you're going to be in your bin?
Yep.
Well, yeah, like the bundle we're doing is 3,500 shipped. You get every cover that from the 1 in 1,000, the 2 1 in 666, the 1 the 1 in 250, the 1 in 100, the 1 in 50, 1 in 25, and then all the butt ton of regular covers. And and with that, we're not making money on that. What we hope to make money on is we're going to get all those other incentives,
right?
And we're going to sell those. But I'm still going to have hundreds of the regular covers sitting around. I'm going to be giving them away for like free comic book day. Kids. I guess Spawn's not technically a kid book, but there may be a few kids walking out of the store with it.
Kids love chains. That's what Todd McFarlane said. Kids love chains.
Well, and that is what sucks about the current stage of comics. I've had kids come into the store. It's awesome. They ride their bikes up there. They come in, they look at the books, and they're like, "Well, how much is this one? $5, $4." And you just tell the look on their faces like, crap, I can't afford this, But luckily we ordered a ton of twigs, so they all got twig number ones when he came in. but yeah, it's just.
It must be tough. I got to be honest. It must be tough being an LCS owner because
We're fumbling around, we're learning, but I mean, when we do a big order like that, we try to at least break even or make a little money at least. But we give tons of free ones out to, like you said, kids come in, we'll give it to them and stuff.
You know, kudos to those guys who've been in business for 40-something years, you know, and all that. That's nuts. They have a bunch of faded comics in their front window, but, you know.
God, I hate that. That drives me nuts.
Right.
I will tell you though, Brendan, I do know a lot of small shops, and it does work. You know, a lot. You know, sometimes you lose your shirt on those, but when they do work, it's really good to sell that one bundle, paid for the 1,000 that you got, so now all the rest get to be profit. You know, that's right. Good if you can get it to work. And, you know, when it doesn't work, it hurts.
Quick number one, we did something like that, and what hurt us was I hesitated. I didn't get the books out. I didn't get those incentives out there right away.
Right. And
that shot us in the foot. I mean, I was going through them the other day. I have got so many 1 in 10s from that.
Right.
It's sickening. It's like a regular cover. And but yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anybody in Lincoln, Nebraska that doesn't have a Twig number 1 right now.
Or Spawn, the King Spawn, that was huge. Same thing.
Yeah, we did the bundles. Not King Spawn. We were just Gunslinger was our first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did bundles for that.
The thing that gets me is that everyone has an exclusive, and it's so easy now to have an exclusive, right? Brandon, you know that. I know that. Anyone now, you just pony up, your name's on the book, you have yourself an exclusive cover, and there's 35 number ones of the same book and all that. And I think that's, for me, that's strictly that's a badass cover. The story inside's all the same. If you already read that book, you already know what it's about, right? So now you're collecting. Now you have the guys who collect the variant of every single artist for that one book. That's why it's hard for me to collect the moderns, because it's too over. It's too much. It's almost like the 90s all over again.
Right.
And I know they have 700. It's even worse.
It's honestly worse. I mean, I'm other than Spawn, I'm a huge Boba Fett fan. When War of the Bounty Hunters came out, there's like Alpha or number one of those two had like 60-something different covers. There's a few I'm missing, but it's just it was nerve-wracking. I'm just glad we didn't have the store going yet. Because it was insane. Not nose down.
See, for me, the problem is I have a mild form of OCD. So whenever you have a connecting cover set, and Travis has done this to me, and he's down there grinning because he knows. Voodoo Nations did this to me, and I was like, well, I like this cover over here, but I have to have this one as the connecting cover to go with my Mojo Horizon. I got to get them all. So I had to do it, and I'm proud of what I did, yes, but it's one of those things that I have no control over at that point. So I'm not a collector at that point. It's more of I've got to have it because it finishes a collection. And that's another thing that I want to kind of bring up is the older ones don't really have that. The older books didn't have the connecting covers.
Right.
So whenever they started doing that with the newer books, it started out as a small trend. And then all of a sudden, instead of just being one series, they actually branched out and crossed over. And it's like, if you want this Venom, that you can have this Wolverine over here, and you can have this Spider-Man over here, and they all connect. And it's like, okay, I don't even like the other ones, but I got to have it all. What is wrong with that?
Right. Yep. That's how they get you, right? It's kind of funny. I posted on one of the Facebook groups. I found my old Image connecting cover of Wetworks Brigade.
Yep.
All that. I have it. I posted it somewhere. So I have all 6 of them, and it makes one big one. And those were back in the days where variants was a big thing. That was hard to find. Did you have the variant? I need it. So just what you're saying, Phil, you just listen, to find those timeless classics, those timeless pieces.
I gave up on those.
It took me
too many. There's just too many
to collect them. I'm just not going to collect one when there's 700 out there.
There's too many. Nope.
You kind of have to do it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I get it. But the 90s were fun with it. Listen, the 90s were the days of the gimmicks, right? Glow in the dark covers, connecting covers, embossed, chromium, hologram,
Die cut.
I
die
think
cut.
it's worse.
Yep.
I think it's worse now because I'm a sucker for metal covers.
Yeah.
You want some metal covers, do you, Brennan?
I mean, it's like a whole new level. Like, but I'm a sucker for some stuff like that.
Well, now they have what? So the foil, the metal, there's
Acetate.
Acetate,
yes.
lava foil,
glass,
Yes.
Crystal
acrylic. They're talking about wood. They're talking about a one that glows with lights. I mean, listen, it's crazy. It's
Metal
crazy.
I got here. That's a
Oh, hang on. You're getting full screen on that one.
These are pretty.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
nice and shiny.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
nice. Wasn't the one I was looking for, but it's a good one.
Travis, I don't know if you heard Brandon, but Travis said 1 in 1,000. So
no, it's so I think here's a little spec, and I apologize if it's specs, but I think Whatnot is slowing that stuff down. I think Whatnot made variants crazy, made it really easy, made it because it was hard for these little stores to flip them. So then Whatnot came around and made a platform where if you're looking for them, they're really easy to do it. And that has kind of, I think, slowed it down, which I think is good because I don't know if you've seen some of the art of some of these covers. Like, you shouldn't be doing an image cover. I think you're a great artist. If you were drawing for me, it'd be fine. But you're in an image book right now. Like, you're not giving that quality of art. You're the dude who can draw for Free Comic Book Day or Comic Store. And those are great guys. I'm not trying to dismiss those.
Right.
You're not an image guy. You're not a Marvel guy. And that's what we're seeing those. And I think that Whatnot has really been able to throw those up there and go, you're not going to make the money that you thought you were making, and really level that field. And I think it's going to straighten out, but I think it's going to take another year or two before it straightens out.
Well, like you said, I know a guy who he just had the funds. It was a Fathom Kickstarter, I think, but you could get your own cover for it, and he just bought his own cover. He did the art. I mean, it's not bad artwork, but it's not. You know, I don't want it in my collection, but but he went out. He just got it. But not a professional comic book artist or nothing. He just got his own cover.
Yep. And Pete Vasquez of Fat Guy Inc. is in here asking serious questions, so a person can't try something to see if it works. What exactly are you referring to, Pete? I want to make sure exactly what you're asking on this.
yeah,
So if you'll go ahead and add to that for us.
yeah, it is true. I bite my listen. Facebook these Facebook groups can be very toxic. It could also be very uplifting. But there are times I bite my tongue because there's a lot of artists out there whose art is how can I put this very nicely, hurts my eyes,
Right.
and it to the point where I just want to say, how are you selling anything? Because the anatomy of that body that you're doing makes no sense whatsoever. Your wrist does not go that way. You know, it doesn't, but hey, listen, the art is in the eye of the beholder, right? Someone might look at that and say, that's so badass.
Exactly.
And that's why I don't ever say anything because that's someone's passion, but I do see it. I'm going, oh, it's
I feel that way. I feel that way about a lot of the digital art. I just don't care for it. You could tell almost right off the bat what it's digital art.
Yeah.
There's I mean, even like McFarlane, since he does almost everything digital now. You could tell that there's a difference in his quality. But that's just my opinion, I guess.
But acetate's been around since the 90s. I have a Doom 2099 that's an acetate, right? I mean, it's nothing new. It's just that the whole acetate gate, the acetate gate was funny because people are profiting off of acetate gate, and they're profiting now even more because it is acetate gate.
Yeah.
Right. The bad publicity became, what is that thing? Any publicity is good
publicity. Yeah.
In this case, people are raking in the money over such a controversial book. So,
and as long as the owners keep going through a divorce, it's going to get worse.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, that was crazy. I'm telling you.
Something you have to look at as far as that's concerned, and I don't want to do a full thing because that's a whole different topic we can get into for another time. But
That's a whole show.
it does put a spotlight on, the comics industry and everything there, but it gives it more of a negative connotation, but it's a spotlight. My point here is, like you said, any publicity is good publicity, but if you focus more on the positive, I mean, look at how much negative created a spotlight there. If we had more positive out there with a bigger spotlight on the positive, imagine how much bigger that spotlight would actually be in the long run.
If you were to break down that cover, honestly, break it down, it's just basically a regular, and they just with the flag and
It's
Oh, yeah.
It's
that's all it was, and people are losing their mind.
Oh yeah,
because how cool that is.
I grabbed one. I grabbed one for my nephew before I realized what was all going on. I grabbed it that morning off Whatnot, and I was like, "Why?" After I heard about everything, I'm like, "Now it's just a conversation piece in the store."
In the fourth staple, right, and all that, and then when you
Yep.
found out the Marvel was not sanctioned with Marvel, and they're like,
Yep.
this whole thing, and how do you try to get away with that in the first place? It's weird. It's I don't understand.
Well, and there's a
think they
lot of
get-
questionalities about that too. Like I know people who will do covers and like do metal covers on regular books. So they'll grab like a first appearance of Miles, but like the reprint of it, and then do a print 50 metals printed on top of that. Well, do they need approval from Marvel because they own the books? They just added something onto it that's no different than a remark. It's such a
That's what I was
weird.
gonna say. As long as you advertise it like a remark or a reproduction, I don't see. But they weren't advertising it like that.
No, I think they were literally advertising it as if it's this new thing.
Yeah.
That weird.
And I think also went through his is it Xenoscope or whatever, Somatica, Xenoscope, whatever they have. But I think that was another wrench in their little deal.
exactly.
I don't understand it. I don't get it.
Now,
It made an entertaining 2 weeks.
oh yeah, that's true.
Boy, it did it.
And going back to talking about the positive spotlights on here and everything, I wanted to bring up on each one of y'all on what you bring positively to the industry, because each one of y'all does that, and we've already kind of discussed through that a little bit. We're going to give y'all some time to talk about that, but I wanted to go to Brandon on this one. And with your store, on a positive note on there, how do you, like, whenever you see someone come in, well, you already talked about, the kids come in and they're like, well, how much is this? And of course they say it's too much. And of course I kind of giggle on the inside because I'm like, wow, that's a great price. Instead of going in there going, they automatically say $30 to $50 to $100, you got great taste. And I'm like, yeah, I suck from that. But whenever they come in and you see if they've got a general interest or whatever, how much more of an nth degree do you go to go ahead and say, do you enjoy reading it? Do you enjoy collecting it? And then play off of what they're saying as a sales tactic to go ahead and say, this is where we want to, this is the direction we want to go ahead and push you into, so that they don't come in blind and make the wrong decision.
I'll be honest, the one thing I hate nowadays is when somebody asks me like about a book of what I think of it, because I just don't get to read as much as I used to. Mm-hmm. So, and I mainly collect, if it's not something I usually get, like Spawn, Star Wars, something like that, if I see an impressive cover. Mm-hmm. If I see a cover I like, I nab one and it goes in my personal collection. But if they ask me about the story, there's a lot of times I'm clueless. I'm just kind of going off of what other people have told me. If it's more about the art, I can talk to people better. One problem we have is little kids coming in and grabbing the Ice Cream Man books, the trade.
Oh yeah, that's a little deceiving, isn't it?
We had to put those in bags and put them up on top. That got changed real quick. But
yeah, that's a little misrepresenting on that one. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, the Dr. Seuss cover sucks. That's
true. Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah,
but and that's cool that you actually go ahead and kind of just go with the flow of what's on there. And you said that you don't have a chance to read, so you don't try to BS your way through it and go, oh man, that's the greatest thing that's come in here since sliced bread. Whenever you don't know anything about it, it's good that you're genuine about that, because again, not everybody is. So it's good to see a store that's actually being genuine about their products. If you don't know, you don't know, but you're willing to go ahead and find out if they're that interested, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I try to talk to everybody. I mean, we're small enough, we're just don't get many people walking the door every day. So I'll bullshit with anybody that walks in if they're wanting to bullshit.
Hey,
And
that may change now, because now that you've been on the hell of a show with the millions and I'm sorry, with the 4 people that are on here. I went into the rock mode and it never fails on that one. But hey, you never know. They may look at this going, that guy's the coolest guy in the world. He's got the greatest beard in the world. We got to go over there and check out his store. It's going to happen. I mean, I can see it right there. The writing's on the wall for that one. But we're going to go over here to Travis now. Since you're so bored and have absolutely nothing to do.
Nothing.
Exactly. So again, going with the positive nature of everything that's going on, I can't even begin to go back and go back over what all you talked about you're working on, because you went through a whole list of things that I kept trying to make a mental note of, but I'm getting older now, so I forgot everything. What is it that you see that you're working on that kind of gives you the feel that you need to make sure that you keep this thing going, and it's got to have the tempo on there? Do you check the metrics and check the tempo of your fans and followers and readers, or how do you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And it sounds like a coach, and it's not. When Granite State Punk got picked up by Black Caravan, in my opinion, is like the cool kids of Scout, right? The people who they're the Electric Black, the Phantom Star Killer, the ones that are selling, those are cool kids. So when I got picked up by that, I knew I had something special. So even though it was a one shot, I immediately went in production of issue 2, even though it's super expensive, because Patrick's a great artist. I think I'm not sure if I said it here, but my grandmother died and left me a decent amount of money. And it was the first book that I got to really go, I want top tier. I want who I want. I just want to make one at the price. Because when you're a publisher, you have to make accessions, right? Because I want to produce a lot of books. I want to get my name out there. So that allowed me to do that. I'm so happy that, it's gained a fan base, and that we're doing the second Kickstarter, we're doing really well, finishing it up. And that if it does well in the direct market when it comes out March or April, I'm going to have that extra piece to get to retailers really fast if it does be a hit, and I'm prepared for that. So that's kind of the metrics. The other thing I think is really cool, the original question of what good do you put in the community? I think independent, one of the things that Caesar was kind of talking about, but maybe something he doesn't think about. Let's say Brandon, he's like, I want to take a chance on your comic. You're an indie guy, you're with a smaller publisher. Like, I have to even explain who Scout is to my people, right?
Right.
Because it's not Dark Horse, like we're at the bottom of the barrel. I've got to explain that. I can go live on his Facebook or whatever, even though I live in Florida. I don't have to come to do a signing. I don't have to come and make that presence. I can start having that relationship and go, here's my book. What can I do for you? I can talk and help you sell those copies of the book.
Yep.
So if you made an investment on me, you can do that. And I found when I really thought about it, that's every writer I like from the stuff. They were very approachable. Brian K. Vaughan used to have this great newsletter. Brian Bendis had his forum that he chatted with people on the regular. Joe Quesada, when he was doing his imprint, was doing it. So if you want to be in this, Donnie Cates, Jason Aaron, all these people who are the big people are the people who are accessible and engage in their community. Garrett Gunn, all these people who are going to make it in this next level are that. So that's what I want to be. And I want to make those relationships and make I think a lot of people in this industry want to do financial relationships, right? Hey, just buy my book. Have a good one. Let me know if it goes. But I found that the people who actually care about that, those are the people who are going to make it, because the stores, it's not, oh, Travis came out a new book. We know Travis Gibb because he was on that live chat with Mad Viking Comics last week. We know that. He was on a Whatnot with Caesar. Like, that's going to make it to be that next level. And even if it doesn't sell 1 million copies everywhere else, that store can sell me every time they have a book in. And that's
Exactly. And that makes total sense with that. And it gives you that networking friction that you've got on there that you can actually work off of, because you hit the nail directly on the head whenever you said, what can I do for you to help do this? You weren't saying, what can you do for me to help push my book and get sales for me? you were saying, what can I do for you to help make this easier and help make this more fluid of a transaction for both of us?
Right.
That is a key element right there. That definitely is. Now, go ahead and give us, because I know you've got it there and ready and waiting to pop there. You've got a Kickstarter that's going on right now. Go ahead and give us that pitch on that and tell us what we're looking at on the Kickstarter and why others should back on there, because I already backed.
Yeah. Just real quick, it's granitestatepunk.com. If you go to it, it'll bring up the Kickstarter. This is the sequel to the book that's coming out in March. So Granite State Punk, what it is about a punk rocker in New England. So if you don't know anything about New England, it has a giant face on all the license plate, on everything. It's a rock formation. That's a real formation that's in New Hampshire. That face fell off in like 2012. And this is a story about witches that were hiding under a spell that thing that kind of gets unlocked. But this punk rocker wants nothing to do with that lifestyle. So he's kind of responding to that, kind of breaks the fourth wall, does a little Deadpool-ish, talks to you. It's a lot of fun. Patrick Rumar, he is going to be stolen by better people at some point. They're going to offer more money than me, so get him now. He's really talented, very Sean Murphy inspired, and we need more people who are doing Sean Murphy style, because Sean Murphy style is great. So it's really, really good. So check it out. And if you want to get, if you're a person who is a speculator or a collector, get the orange cone version before it comes out for Scout. Get the indie version. I'm not saying I'm like the Crow where you got to hunt down the now version before it went to Caliber, but something like that.
Exactly. And in case y'all can't tell, he's just a little bit excited about his work whenever he does this. You can't tell a little bit of that passion whenever he's talking about this. That shows in his work as well, because I haven't seen this one yet, but I'm telling you from the other works that I've gotten from him, you can definitely see where the excitement and the passion flows through his work.
It's the best book I've ever done. And I'm not saying that just to sell it. It's when I wrote it, I think it's because I got to do it the way I wanted, with the right cast, with the no budget restraints. And I set it in New Hampshire. I'm from New Hampshire. So it's got that. My grandmother, it's got all the elements to go. I started just doing a Travis book, and then I was like, oh no, this shit's got to be personal. So it got really personal, really dark, deals with alcoholism a lot. The second issue is what's live on Kickstarter right now, but you get 1 and 2. The second issue deals with, what an alcoholic goes through when they try to recover and try to stop, as you see, it may not work out so well. If punk rock culture, Breaking Edge is the name of the book. So maybe not so well.
Sounds like it's interesting. Sounds like it's going to be fun. How much more time do you have on that?
We have 7 days. 7 days.
Okay, 7 days. So we still got some time on there to go ahead and make some stuff happen over there. Got some. How far are we on the stretch goals? Because I know you're also doing something where every 25 backers
every 25 backers you get a digital book from one of my friends, and then we have stretch goals. We've already unlocked a physical print. We're doing a magnet, an FU magnet at 6,700. So we'll get that the next couple of days. I also just put a page. If you're an art collector, I put the first page original art up for auction. So for sale, not for auction. So it's a 1 of 1. It's the first page of Granite State Punk #1. I did that again for collectors. People love that first page, so you can buy it.
Awesome. So everybody needs to go over there, check that out. If you have the link, go ahead and throw that over there in the comments, and I'd be glad to go ahead and have that out as well. And you mentioned about collectors, so we're going to go ahead and roll that directly in over here to Caesar. See, we got the perfect segues on this show. With Caesar, not only collector, but we're going to go ahead and talk about where else you go ahead and talk about all this kind of stuff and the podcast that you use over there. Just remember, don't say his name 3 times. Don't do it.
I know. Yeah. And so you can also see me every Wednesday on the Comic Fanzine podcast. We talk about, we have Kickstarters on with some writers. We have, we do what we can to help promote those who want to put their work out there. They need every help. As Travis, you well know, you need every help you possibly can get to put your name out there. So they come to our show and we talk about them. And at the same time, we also use that opportunity to nerd out with them. A lot of these guys, I'm not talking about you, Travis, but we've noticed with a lot of artists, because we have a lot of artists that come on the show. We've had Ryan Kincaid, Aaron Bartling. We've had what's his name? The Illuminati. I mean, Kickstardamus. We've had quite a few guys on our show, and they use an opportunity to nerd out. Right. We had John Boy Myers on, and we're like, "Hey, John Boy, thank you for your time. You're probably busy. You probably have to get off." He's like, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "This is the only time you guys are my kind of people. I can't nerd out with anybody else because my wife cares less about what I do in a sense." So she's not into the comic stuff. So it's another time we talk about your Kickstarters and your art and all that. But at the same time, I'll ask you, like, Travis, have you seen Andor? Have you seen the new She-Hulk? Have you seen that? And we talk about the new Spec movies coming out and all that stuff. So it's a good time. It's a Comic Menu on YouTube, but it's Comic Fanzine on Facebook. And it's me, and I'll just mention his name once, Dell. He goes by Culinary Comics, and we have Brett Todd, who goes by the Todd Father and whatnot. And we call it the shit show because sometimes it becomes that. Our claim to fame of late, and funny that Brandon's here, is that Brandon and I did the one chip challenge. Live on the show. And I don't know if you know this, Brandon, but on the YouTube, it has like 500 views, 400 views. It has like the most views ever because people like to watch people in pain
suffer, right?
And so we did that, and we had the comments they couldn't keep up. The comments were flying because people were calling us dumbasses and what are you doing? And your a-hole's not going to be the same and all the stuff. And they were 100% correct. I joking around when I said that later. I was fine. Brandon said it's not hot. It gets hot, but your mouth is fine, and you're fine if you don't breathe. But that night, I kid around. I think I saw my dead relatives that night. They were like in a haze, and I think even them, they were shaking their heads, going, "What the fuck are you doing?" So. Listen, we have a good time, and like I said, I'm on Dracula's Wolf and whatnot. You see me pop in your chats. I don't sell anything, and I gotta be honest, I don't buy as much because it's a lot of modern stuff, and I'm a key collector. Yes, I have 4 long boxes of stuff I don't mind getting rid of. Because if they're not keys, what do I want them for, right? So I'll flip them. Yeah, I'll flip them. I probably paid nothing for it, but some guys like, oh, I wish I had that 1990s connecting variant cover of Wetworks and Deathblow, and I'm your man. $50 are all yours. So yeah, man,
that is awesome. And yeah, by all means, we will go ahead and have mention of Comic Fanzine over here. We won't mention the one who shall not be named because we've already said his name once. I don't want to make the mistake of saying it 3 times because he shows up.
Yeah,
exactly. And then it's hard to get rid of them at that point. It's not just the showing up, it's the getting rid of after. No, we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun with that and with each other. And it's all about fun in this industry whenever you're dealing with everything that's out there. We had this topic tonight we were discussing on here. Not once did anybody get so pissed off at each other. We were throwing chairs around or anything like that. Nobody was saying they would never talk to each other again. It's all about being just open and honest with each other and just having a discussion. It doesn't mean that I like Caesar any less because he doesn't read. And it doesn't mean that Travis is going to go ahead and block him after this because Travis is working hard as a writer and doesn't have him read anything.
But if it becomes a key, Travis, I'll pick it up.
I mean, typically every issue will have a first appearance of somebody. Let's do it. Well,
there you go.
I'm just saying, man. You're right. You're absolutely right. And we'll fail to back on that. And I preach about it a lot. There needs to be a lot more positive in this community, and I like to say this a lot. It is a big, small community.
Yep.
It's huge, but it's small because a lot of us know each other.
Yep.
Right. And it's the same names that are mentioned and all that stuff like that. So word of mouth is big, and it also could drown you, but it could also pick you up. Exactly. And what I like to do as a collector is I like to give positive to those who are just starting to collect. Should I slab? Should I not slab? Should I buy this? Is it 9.6 okay? Is it 9.8? Should I get that? What if it's a tear? I try to show positivity to those kids and those grown-ups coming in going, I don't know where to start, or should I even collect, or what do I collect? you got to be positive, man, because there's too much negative out there. It seems like someone's stabbing somebody every night on the news, and we have wars, and we have the politics, and we have the religion wars, everything we don't want to talk about on the show. Enough. It's we don't need for it to bleed into what we love, to write, to collect, to sell, and to promote. We don't have enough of that, and it's losing its gusto, it's losing its mojo. And we need to be more positive about it, because this shit gets people down. And I have seen too many posts of I'm going through something and I have to sell my ASM 129. You're like, oh man, because you kind of feel bad for that person. Like, you probably were collecting for a long time to get that, and now you got to sell it because you have to sell it. Like you said, Travis, all about your kids. And that's what it is for some people. It's like, I got to pay bills, or I lost my job and I got to sell my stuff. And you're going, boy, that sucks, man. Is there anything I can do to help instead of you selling your treasures? It kind of sucks. So we need to build on that. And what can we do, right? We just keep trying.
Well, and you need help in this industry. Like, comics have always been a community. And there has always been, I wouldn't say shysters, but they've always been these gimmicks and things that delay from the experience, right? I know so many comic readers who go into a comic store and then they get flooded. Or do I need to buy this? Oh, I rebought this. Oh, the store won't let you bring it back because it was a different cover and you thought it was the same issue. Yeah. Or even like when I grew up in the 90s, I, of course, spent the extra dollar to buy the deluxe.
Yeah, the deluxe
paper and everything. And what does it do? It screws me years later because it's not as valuable as a newsstand. Right. Which is, I did the right thing, right? I
bought the deluxe.
And then nope. It's all these things that we really, comics is such a great community if you can get involved and do it. And I know people who are looking for my collections everywhere. If I guarantee if I became friends with Caesar or Brent, when they saw something on Whatnot that they know I'm looking for, they're going to be tagging me and let me know, hey, your book's here. It's for a good price. In fact, a lot of times what I used to collect on a regular, they'd be like, oh, I bought it for you. You owe me $60. I didn't agree to that. What are you talking about? They just want to help out because that's how good this community is. And especially what I love about your show, Caesar, not to take too much time, but I love people who like to nerd out because there's so many of these shows, and that's why I agreed to go on Demon Phil. There's so many of these shows that are just talking about the thing, right? Let's just talk about my Kickstarter. Let's go over all the panels. Yep. Let's move on. And then you'll talk to that guy later. You'll get him on a real show, and they'll be like, "Hey, so what are you reading? Oh, I haven't read anything in forever. Who are you looking up to? Oh, I guess Todd. Todd McFarlane. He's doing." Like, they don't care about the industry. They don't know the names. Right. Caesar may not read, but I'm sure he could tell you who's writing what or who's doing that. And I think that's being lost because, as Caesar pointed out, the barrier of entry into comics is way easier right now. All I need is money, and I could be on a pen, and I can be on an image book. Hey, can I get Mad Viking to buy 1,000 copies of my cover? I'm willing to pay for it. I'm now an image creator. Like it's ridiculous. I have an image credit, Demon Phil. Did you know that till today?
No.
You know why? Because I don't fucking tell anybody, because it's only a 6-page and a backup. Until I get a real image book, I'm not going to use it on all my titles and pretend like I'm.
But there's people that would, right, Travis? There's people.
Right. There's 100 people who would, but that's not who I am.
Right.
Well, we've got a local guy that says he's been he's done comic books and all that, and I was trying to do work, have him come into my store and do something. I was like, "What have you done?" He couldn't tell me. And I'm like, "What artist works on a book and doesn't know what they did?"
You know what? His dad was probably the muscle guy in the back ads, for the.
I don't know, but I was just like, "Okay, man, whatever."
There is a story. There's a guy, and he shares it publicly. His name's Martin Dunn. Do you know Martin Dunn, Phil?
Yeah.
Martin Dunn, he did that. He actually claimed he was working for Image, and it got him work to do like Transformers and JJ. He was claiming he was already doing that.
Wow.
Like, he tells the story. He did a panel. After the panel, someone from like IDW was like, "Hey, do you want to do a couple of Transformers covers?" And that's how we broke in.
Wow. No fact checks, huh?
Right.
I mean, that's a whole new meaning to, dress for the role you want, not for the role that's posted.
Right.
Right?
You're saying about being in the community though. There was a shop in Grand Island, Nebraska when I was just getting into collecting in the '90s and that. The owner, we butted heads on a few things here and there, but I was in there one day when a gal came in with a stack of Wonder Woman books, put them up on the counter, asked him if he wanted to buy them. He bought them for dirt cheap. As soon as she left, he got on the phone and made a call. He goes, "Hey, I just saved your Wonder Woman collection. You owe me $40." It was the guy's ex-girlfriend, but
See,
I mean, but it's just
that's love.
Those guys know each other. If you're in the hobby and you're a regular, you know
Right.
the guy.
Yeah.
That's right. Right. You got to
Exactly.
play that. See, it's all about the community, man. It's all about helping each other out.
Yep.
And that's exactly what I want to go ahead and comment on right there. And usually this is the point where I would go ahead and, get everyone off stage and I do my closing comments. But I actually want all of y'all up here because you've all brought that up in your ways, leading up to this, is all about the community. That being said, what I mean by that is whenever I mentioned about doing this show and we got everything locked in, Caesar sent me a message and said, is it okay if I talk about Comic Fanzine? My immediate response was, yeah, by all means, go ahead. And he was like, well, I don't want to, overstep or anything. I was like, at that point, I was like, it's a community. This is something that I'm trying to get the word out for the community. This is not, this is not going to get me a brand new mansion with a nice car out there with, manservants to do everything whenever I want them to do. We can't all live like Travis on this one. We all have to kind of, have other things going on. But my point is, it's all about getting that spotlight on the industry itself. And the same thing happened with Travis whenever we were backstage about to come up on here. He's like, do you mind if I go ahead and talk about my Kickstarter there towards the end? I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that you will. I mean, I'm bringing you on here for your discussion points, yes, but I also want you to have a little bit of a spotlight to talk about your program because, your project, because that's what you've got going on right now. My point is, we've all brought up the community. So nobody's really competing with each other. We talk about he who shall not be named with Comic Fanzine. We do not compete. The only reason I treat him like that is because if I give him too much credit over there, I'll never hear the end of it. And Caesar knows that from a high standpoint, that'll definitely happen. But he's a great guy, and I appreciate the fact that he is actually doing what he does for the community as well. It's a matter of how much can you do for the community on your end? What do you have to offer? Now, that's not saying hold your hand out with a bunch of, 20s and 100s in there and just pay these people off. That's not how it always works. What always happens is people think that it's all about the money. It's more about the sharing. Do you know how much it costs to use this finger? Well, the correct one of anyway, to hit that share button. You hit that share button, it costs you absolutely nothing. Travis has a campaign going right now. GraniteStatePunk.com. Go over there, get on that campaign. Okay, you say that you don't have enough money or it may not be your thing right now. You know what it costs you to use the power of that finger? Nothing. You know what it costs you to use the power of that finger whenever you have supported it and, and done it financially if you want to? Nothing. And it still helps. Go over there and find Brandon on Facebook and look up Mad Viking Comics and go ahead and see what they've got to offer over there. Maybe go ahead and do a digital review saying that you've never stepped foot in there, but you're talking about what you've learned from the man tonight on the show. Reviews do help with things and cost absolutely nothing. Caesar's down here. He's collecting. He's got some knowledge on some things that are going on with that. Reach out to him if you've got questions. If you want to know some things and further your education on collecting, he will be glad to help you out with things and give you some advice on some things. Now, again, opinions are everyone's opinion. So we're not saying that anybody is right or wrong in anything they're going to be telling you in all of this, but it's all about the community and everybody reaching out and just helping one another on what you're doing. That's what my shows have always been about since I started doing this 3.5 years ago. And it still is to this day. And I want to see more people doing that, not necessarily the shows, because not everybody can do that or wants to do that, but in anything else that you do. Do a post online and social media. Reach out to these guys. Do you know how much it means to Travis just to have somebody reach out to him and send a message saying, Travis, we appreciate what you do in comics? That could be the difference between him going ahead and having a bad day or a bad week or a bad month that we never know about, and him about to hang up that pen and say, I'll never touch this again, get that message and go, I guess I can keep doing this. I've got one person that's actually enjoying this. It'll make all the difference in the world. You don't know how much of a difference that'll make. And same thing with Brandon with the shop. He may be seeing some things on there going, oh, don't know if I should be doing this. But then again, it takes a few people to go ahead and go up there going, we saw you on there. We heard what you had to say. We're willing to go ahead and jump on and do a digital pull list over there. If you're willing to do that with us and, send the stuff to us, I'm sure he'll work with you on that, and he would be more than happy to do so. Again, with Caesar, not only with knowledge, dealing with the collecting, but if you need something else. And I know for a fact, because I've seen him on the other show, I've seen him with the other guys and everything too. I can tell you right now, if you're just having a rough time and just need somebody to kind of reach out to and vent to, just say, hey, life's giving me some hiccups here. I just want to go ahead and reach out and say, is it worth it to keep going? Talk. That's all you got to do.
You'll be surprised, Phil. It's funny you say that. I've helped quite a few people who reached out to me because they needed an ear to listen to, and they just vent, and I would just read it and give some advice. And sometimes I become sort of the comic therapist, and it's happened everywhere I've gone to, even at work. I always end up becoming the work therapist. People just flock to me and feel comfortable talking to me. And it's so true. It's so true. And I also give advice on how to set up your comic room, because I take pride on how I I take pride of how I set up my room, So, but it's Phil, 100%. We all give something. And Travis, when you were talking about meeting people, other writers that are very accessible, approachable, it goes a long way when you read a book from somebody that I really love the way Travis works, and I send a message to you, and you're like, hey, what's going on? Yeah, man, what do you need? And you're like, is this really you, Travis?
Right.
It's not your secretary or it makes them go like, wow, I really talked to Donnie Cates today, or Perez apparently Perez was supposedly a nice guy. From what I understand, he would reach out, he would talk to you.
Amazing.
It goes a long way. And the same thing with Brandon being a shop owner. He's not a dick. He's not one of those guys that, as a matter of fact, Brandon, I've been wanting to ask you this. Are you that guy that when somebody finds a book in your dollar bin that you forgot that is there, that's worth $50, and they bring it up to the counter, you go, hold on, let me look it up?
No, if I misprice something, that's my ass.
Because that is the biggest thing that people have about LCS is they'll go to the dollar bin, pick up a $5 book, they're freaking out because it just went up $80, and they go up, they're like, here you go, and he's like, hold on, boop, 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 boop. That'll be $80, please. So now I'm doing your work.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going through your bins, picking out your key books, and now I'm going to spend my no. So that's in such a situation like that with this guy up here. You want to go to his store. You want to work with him because he's an honest guy who doesn't want to screw anybody over. You know why? Because he wants you to return. The minute he does you owe me $80, you're going to go, screw you, go on Facebook and go, do not go to Mad Comic Line. I went to the counter and he charged me $80 for a $1 bottle, and everyone's going to say, yeah, screw that guy. I'm not going to go there. You want the opposite. You want hey, I'm taking a trip to Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska. Are there any cool LCSs there? As a matter of fact, yes. Mad Viking Comics. You want to go to his store. That's a cool dude.
And I got to say, on Brendan says, it's hard as someone who's been in the comic store, like when you see that guy who has his phone out and you're like watching them go through your box, and you're like, fuck, I may lose my shirt today. Because that guy is checking every book.
What sucks is I did that last night. I was at a store in Iowa, and I'm sitting there just, the beat up books, but I'm like, okay, well, I was on my phone. They just had a bunch of beat up books in the dollar bin. I was just seeing what they had, but yeah, there's a shop in Western Nebraska that's that way. I've walked out of there plenty of times without buying anything because it's one of those. I know they got copies of Something's Killing the Children #1, the first printing, and I got lucky. They had and another location of theirs. I grabbed 10 off the rack at cover price, and they just didn't know what they had. They've been sitting there for 7 months. I figured that's plenty of time for somebody to figure out what they have.
Oh yeah.
So I grabbed them, walked out, and they must have threw a red flag up on their POS system or something.
Yeah.
Went back to another location 2 weeks later. They had them up for $30. I could still do something with them, so I grabbed all the 5 they had there. Well, now they got them behind the counter at his main location, and you got to ask for them, and then he looks them up on eBay.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not paying you eBay prices. I mean,
shame on you. Shame on you for not pricing them out. Hey, listen, people are like, but you don't understand. Like Travis said, you don't own a comic book store. It's not that easy to go through hundreds of bins and do all that. Well, you know what, dude? I don't know what to tell you. Get a bunch of kids in, buy them pizza, get a bunch of your homeboys in, buy them beer, close the shop early, and go through your bins. I don't know. Pick out the keys so now you have them. Don't make the customers do your job. It gives a bad taste in my mouth, and you will have.
The only time we've had to look some stuff up once. Like we're new, we're just putting stuff. We're taking what we're starting with is my personal collections from since the 90s. Action figures, statues, comics, everything. Occasionally something gets put out, nobody puts a price on the damn thing. Then I'll look it up, and then I'll knock money off of it because they had to sit there and wait for us to look it up. But yeah, I've had to do that when somebody puts something out without a price tag on. I hate it, but it does happen.
But once again, Brandon, it's business, and that's the other thing, and that's the other part I have to understand. It's business. You have to make you have to make that money, and you have to make that profit, and I get it. It's a torn. That's why I could never own it. I would want to keep everything.
Oh, believe me, this is actually helping me get rid of. Yes, my girlfriend was on here. When I was getting my Spawn collection, I was a moody bitch. When I was packing it up, getting ready to ship it out, she didn't want to be around. Nobody wanted to be around me. I was like cutting off a finger or something. It just sucked.
Yeah, Brandon's like 6'9". He breathes fire.
That chip makes you breathe fire.
My comic area is very, very cool. So we have one store that's like the Walmart. So they'll have everything. They don't, but because they have so many things, they don't have time to really keep track of it. Just kind of on the shelf, and if you get lucky, you get lucky. They'll monitor a few things on days it comes out and limit it to 1 per customer, whatever. Then we have another shop that's 9.9. He will not put out a book if there's a ding on it. It's all bagged and boarded, perfect. Does the thing. It's for the collectors. He's one of those guys. I'll get you the 1 in 20, but you got to do this for me. Like he'll make those deals and make sure you can get it. And then I have the other one who's like, yeah, we've got comics here, but we really love statues. And it's a guy who really it's kind of like Caesar. He waits for people to want to sell their collections so he can fill all these holes in his thing. He has 2 Amazing Fantasy 15s. Like it's almost like a front. It's not that he doesn't make business, but it's almost like I just wait for people to come and sell me these wonderful things so I don't have to hunt anymore.
That's one of the reasons that's exactly one of the reasons why I decided to open a shop. There was another place in town. I was friends with the owner, and the stuff people brought him was sick.
Right.
And it's like, okay, fine. I'll always thought about it, and that's just another bonus of it. People bring their stuff to you.
Well, I mean, and the point is, leading up to all of that is with the community and everything, these guys that I have on the panel right now, they are old school values, which is great because values kind of get missed because they're replaced with dollar signs too much in the industries that are out there, not just comics, but overall. So just make sure that you're doing things for the right reasons, the right way. Like we were talking about, you never know with integrity. Integrity is always doing the right thing whenever no one's looking. make sure that's happening. These guys do that. That's why I choose to, I wouldn't be promoting Travis's stuff if I didn't believe in the stuff that he was and the way that he is and the content that he has. I wouldn't promote Brandon as a LCS owner if I didn't think that he was actually doing a good job with some things out there. And I wouldn't promote Caesar, on having knowledge on things if I didn't actually do some research on that to find out that he's actually a good guy and doesn't screw people over in the background. That being said, it's all about how you present yourself in the open whenever no one's looking as well. And that's what I'd like to go ahead and kind of send off the end of this with is, again, it's kind of like a DemoNation challenge on this one. We'll throw that out there. What have you done for the community here lately? And the reason I'm saying that, and it's not a rude thing by any means, but, power the finger, the correct one, hit the share button. That is one good way right there. But reach out to these guys. Let them know they're doing a good job. Let them know you appreciate the work they're doing. And it doesn't even have to be just them. Someone in the industry out there is waiting to get that kind of message or that kind of, little push. And it'll help them out more than out there. So thank you, gentlemen, for being up here tonight. We had a great conversation in dealing with readers versus collectors. I was expecting a great show, but man, we got into some really great content on this, and I definitely appreciate each one of y'all for being here. We're going to go ahead and send off on this one and let each of you have full screen on this. Tell us who you are and where to find you, and we will start off with the biggest beard and kind of work our way around. Brandon, you're up first.
Oh, that was going to be me.
They said Mad Viking Comics. We're in Lincoln, Nebraska, 942 North 70th Street if you're in the area. Our main thing is we're on Facebook right now, and we're just kind of pushing that Batman Spawn coming out. We got all kinds of different bundles. And also artists, we're offering those blank covers for 40% off if for artists. So that's our big push right now. Otherwise, just come by, check us out. We're on everything I can think of social media wise. It's Mad Viking Comics. You'll see our logo. You'll know it's us.
Excellent. And now we're going to go over to the Orange Cone Man. So let's go ahead and bring it up on full screen.
Yeah, the best way to find me is travisgibb.substack.com. I have a Substack where I post all the stuff that's coming out. There, you'll find all my socials for Instagram, YouTube, and all that. The other thing, if you just want to check out my book catalog, it's on orangeconeproductions.com. That'll show you all the past books that you can pick up and check them out.
Excellent. And we're going to finish off with Caesar here. Caesar's got full screen.
Hey, Travis, I sent you a Facebook. Okay, Boomer, right? I sent you a Facebook. So
yes, I declined immediately because
okay,
you don't read comics. You're of no use to me, Caesar.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Remember, I got a podcast, you son of a bitch.
Oh, all right. I'll say yes.
Listen, guys, you already know we have a comic fanzine, comic fanzine, depends how you say it, every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, 8 Mountain, 7 Pacific. We have a lot of guests on sometimes, and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we just have friends. We have whatnot sellers. We have Brandon on, like we said, and we'll just geek out. Travis, we'll talk.
Yeah.
Maybe we could come on the podcast and talk about your stuff. So that's how it is. Let's build some love. You can find me at whatnot, and listen, guys, if you guys could always reach out to me for anything. No joke. If you really are having a bad day and you're contemplating things, give me a call, man. I'm a funny guy. I'm very easy to talk to. I don't take life too serious, but I will take your life serious. So that's all that matters. And that's it, man. This is a great show, Phil. Thanks, man. You listen. It's good. It's fun. It's everyone talks. It's good. I like it.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and put y'all back in the green screen for now. If y'all want to hang out until I'm done with my closing on this, we can talk afterwards. But thank y'all very much for being on here. We've had a great show. I'm actually going to have to get y'all back on other shows as well, because we're going to be starting to do a panel show at least once a month. It may go to twice a month if we can keep the content going on there, because I think this went out really well.
Sure.
All right. Thank y'all very much. And we will see y'all next time.
Peace and love.
All right. Hell of a show, number 98. We had a great time on here talking about readers versus collectors. I've already done my closing statement on there while they were up here. It meant more to me to do that while they were on the screen, to go ahead and show off on that what it meant for community to be the word that I was going off of, because it's a huge thing, and they were all representing that very, very well. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. Now, in closing on this one, I just want to go ahead and kind of remind everybody that I keep bringing up that this is number 98. And yes, I am very ecstatic about this, that this is number 98. 99 is a pre-recorded that'll be dropped early next week. That leaves number 100 a week from tonight. 100 of Hell of a Show is going to be out there. Now, again, this is not for me. This is not for me to go ahead and get, to where I'm selfish about this by any means. And the show is not going to be that way by any means at all. My 100th episode is going to be Rob Multari and Mog Park talking about Snowpaw 2. And they will have the show as normal. It won't change for that by any means, because I want to give them their time. The after show that'll be directly after will be the celebration show. And that's the one where we have open revolving seats, where I am hoping to have past guests that will go ahead and jump on there and let me know what they thought of their experience being on the show and what they would like to see from the show moving forward into other milestones. 500, 1,000, 5,000, however many shows y'all are willing to see my ugly mug up here, I'll keep doing it for that long. So that being said, we're on the road to 100 plus, and we're having a blast doing this. Thank you everyone for being here. We're going to go ahead and do the outro on this now. Do not leave your seats until it is completely done. You've already had the hints on there of some things going on with giveaways next Friday. Keep watching and don't leave till the very end. Until then, keep it indie, y'all.
Sockets, flip the switch and watch them run. Take it back the crowd. I'm all dressed up and naked. I see what's money taking. Oh yeah, the crowd. So close I can taste it. I see what's money taking.
Just a little public service announcement that Halloween comes before Christmas. Oh, I know, I pissed off the Karens. Get over it. This is Halloween. This is Halloween.